Are you ready for the Flowtricks Christmas special? I am going to be teaching quite a few techniques and we're going to finish it off with a really awesome one by Jason. Stay tuned. Before we begin, a huge thank you to Flow Toys and a huge thank you to Dark Monk. Flow Toys makes amazing glow nunchucks, durable, awesome, and Dark Monk makes great training nunchucks, one of my favorites. You see me spinning them all the time. Thanks so much. Let's begin with the You may see me use a staff and chuck at the same time and wonder how I get the timing of this. It's very simple. This is a 1 beat, so this is spinning a circle in front of me without ever crossing past my wrist. And then this is doing a 2 beat, meaning there's a circle in front and a circle in back. And as this staff crosses my body, so as it's at 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, so is the nunchuck here. And then as it does, so the upper half is the chuck also meets it in front. And then it does the lower half of the circle from here to here, the chuck spins behind me. So they're matched up to be at the exact same time. Practice. 3 tricks with spinning a ribbon. 1 is you can make snappy ninja motions by flicking it like a belt, like this. And what's happening is I'm flick, flick. If I'm going in slow motion, I'm putting a lot of force into 1. If you want more circles like so, an easy way to keep it from getting tangled is to make sure it never touches your body. If it touches your body, it will snag on your body and get stuck. So one thing you can do is move backwards with it or keep creating circles in different areas, making sure that it doesn't wrap around itself by touching itself. And the last part is, if you happen to get stuck on your arm or have it wrap around your body, give it a big wide body motion to clear it up. So it's wrapped around, just make a huge sweeping sweep and start flicking. Then you can end up with motions like this. If you're using a staff, a trick a lot of people don't use is resting it on your shoulders at an angle. There's a lot of things you can do with this. For instance, you can pull it over to the other shoulder, like so. Or you can even just pass it across the front of your neck to the other side. This is a nice stopping point as well, as it opens up a lot of different variations that you can do just by wrapping it across your neck. So practice putting it across your neck in a V-like fashion and seeing what kind of really cool tricks that you can come up with. If you have a long string poi, a nice little rope dart inspired move is to spin it counterclockwise to turn your body almost like you're going to do a number 3 bounce with nunchucks. The moment you feel it wrap across the bottom, you're going to pinch it inward like so, and it's going to cause the poi to want to spin behind you and turn your body like that. So pinch it in, turn your body. And what happens is you have this nice little tuck. Now from there, there's so many different kinds of really cool wraps and stuff that you can do, but getting this one, I feel is like a really fun and essential way to get your body to. A lot of times people learn a move like the back-to-back wrist roll and they think they're done, but have you tried it doing it fully arms extended like out here? Or have you tried to do it behind the back of your shoulder? That totally changes the dynamic as well as gives a totally different feel to a figure 8 wrist roll. For instance, that is a very different looking figure 8 wrist roll than what you're used to. So what I'd like you to try is, instead of just doing your wrist rolls, now all of a sudden I want you to try to see if you can do rolls from different points of your body, and what you will realize is the trick that you learned, you've only learned it in a very small area. So now start expanding and seeing where all these old techniques have hundreds of different variations that you may not even know. When using 2 different props, one of the most important things is not to just keep, like if I know double staff, if I just keep doing the same double staff moves as I do with a staff and a chuck, it doesn't give the character. So be sure to try to figure out what kind of unique character happens between 2 different props. For instance, that can only be done with a chuck and a staff. So going back to the first move here, if I hold my staff very straight to the side like this, I can do a pass where the chuck is actually handing off from the top and it's making a connection with the staff that should allow me to, if I do enough practice, to be able to grab it just like it was a 360 front to front roll, like so. So be sure whenever you're using multiple props not to just keep doing the same moves that you would say if I had 2 staffs. Make sure you use the characteristics of both the staff and the chuck, or whatever 2 props you use, and make sure that you create something brand new with that. Now, use what you already know to create a foundation, but the only way to really make it go blast away is to find its unique character and capitalize. You can pretty much turn anything you want into a flow object, but there's characteristics that you can use. For instance, if it's flimsy, how much space do you have for the flimsiness? How much poi can you add in? For instance, for something weird like this, what can you do that's unique? For instance, I can fit my fist in here. Maybe I can do some sort of throw where I can catch it. Now that's going to take a lot of practice, but there's also going to be other things, like it can sit nice and snug over here. So what can I do to create all these different motions while mixing what I already know to create a brand new flow with something that I've never touched before? A lot of it has to do with just finding out, for instance, if I have a staff or any kind of stick or anything that's solid, where's the center of balance? Because that's going to be right next to it is where going to be all the rolls from everything you've ever learned, or the palm spins is going to be near the center. Whereas if it's a little bit more flat like this, you may have to find out unique other ways that you can create to get creative and figure out what you can do with any kind of motion. This might be really good for like a side palm spin or something. I don't know. I just picked it up. But as you can see, there's different motions and you want to play with it. Use again what's familiar to you and then start exploring and figuring out what you can come up with. Like if I could throw it and catch it with my elbow like that, that'd be pretty cool, you know, and drop it down. But you want to find what's unique about it, and that's going to be what you play off. And then when you're doing your flow, you do with what's familiar. Boom. Remember to think outside of the box. For instance, I have this mop that I just picked up at the dollar store. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is going to be doing like dragon staff type motions. It's so light though, I can't even get that done. But what this also means is I can do something, for instance, plop it on the ground, and it's got so much give that I can easily flip it back up to my hands. So I can plop it down, oops, as I drop it, I can plop it down, scoot it over, and kick it up. And then come up with all kinds of crazy things just because of the sheer drag of having this. Gives me different options, almost like an anti-gravitational method, just because it's holding out in the air so much longer. And that is something to capitalize on because, again, it's going to be unique to that problem. Let's say you are mixing a nunchuck and a poi. One thing I really like to do is not only can I do my motions now, keep in mind my nunchuck has to move a lot slower because my poi goes really slow, where nunchucks can spin fast. But what I like to do is as I'm turned to the side and I'm doing a 3-beat, I give it a little bit of a dip like so to create a tuck, and I turn over to the side, and from here the poi can just wrap around the nunchuck like so. The moment it gets close to the edge, I give it like a little bit of a bounce to reverse the direction. Like that, and then it winds and unwinds. So let's try again. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, unwind it. And there you go. Last tip that I'm going to give you is to make mistakes and to see how well you can recover from them. Go ahead and pass with your hand grabbing the chain, or go ahead and slip a little bit, or even practice from being a little bit off balance just to see, maybe bounce it off your arms and legs and see what you can do to recover it. Because in martial arts, as you know, you can watch people get knocked down and their backs against the ground, and in the old days that means you were going to lose. But with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the moment their back is on the ground, they have a whole new set of techniques that they do. And it's going to be the same with you. No matter, it's not a disadvantage until you create it as so. Even if you drop the chucks, just the ability to be able to pick it up again and to go back into action, however you want to do it, whether you pick it up with your feet, or you pick it up with your hands, or you do a little cartwheel, or whatever you want. It's how you recover that is going to be all about your showmanship as well as how to create a great show. Whoosh, look at that. Whoosh.
So the first thing that I do is almost like I'm going to do a clutch, but instead I'm just going to let the chucks roll around my arm. So instead of clutching, let it ride all the way through. Alright, so we're working a contact trick here that's using our arm as a fulcrum to get leverage to go up, drop behind the neck, and spin around the shoulders. So we're going to start off like we're doing a clutch, but instead, we're actually going to let it roll all the way through. So use your fingers and push that handle up, or through actually. And we want the handle to stay in contact with the arm, like that, because you actually want a little hang time once it hits the back of your arm. And we do want to keep this between our bicep, tricep area, and below our shoulders. So right on this line where the white and red meet. And then once you get it there, lift your arm up. It'll even give that a little more hang time so that it'll drop smoothly. You want them to get as high up on your arm as possible. You want them almost at the top of your arm. If you start and they're only hitting the back of your arm, they're not going any further, it's going to wrap around your back more so than it is your neck and shoulders. So we want to keep it up high. And you can even lift your arm up. As soon as you get here, lift your arm up, give it a little more hang time, because you want as much time of it free floating up there as possible. Once you do that, you're going to bring your head in. So under the arm, lift up, duck your head in, and they're going to roll around naturally. What else? Oh, keep contact with the handles while doing this, not the rope or chain. So the handle is what's spinning around my arm. So when I throw it under, it is riding up my arm. It's not the chain or the rope that's wrapping around the arm. It's actually the handle that moves. And right here is when I lift my arm up. That's when it's going to give it a little more hang time. You're going to duck your head in, it's going to drop down, and it's going to roll around nice and good for you. That's all I got for right now. Bow on the angle. If you have your bow straight in front of you, there's nowhere for that to go, and now you're stuck. It's just right in there. Not a whole lot you can do. If you got your elbow too far out, well, it's going to smack you in the head, and I'm not going to allow that to happen, even for the sake of a demo. So, just know it'll happen. So everything we do is on an angle. For some troubleshooting, if it's coming down and it just feels like it's just slamming down on your neck, it's because you're actually letting it fall too high up on your arm. So in that case, yes, back it off a little bit. But if it's coming, straight around, horizontally around you, it's because you're not getting it high enough up on your arm before letting it fall. So that should help. Like I said, don't anticipate that drop. Don't keep yourself hunched forward. Stay pretty straight. I know I was hunching a little bit in those, but you really don't need to. I mean, you should just be able to, you may have to rock a little bit, but it's pretty much just the neck. If you don't get it, drop me a comment. Let me know what the issue is. If you can, shoot me a video and we'll get it worked out, because I'm convinced you can do it. And if you did get it, shoot a video out. Let's see it. A lot of things you can do with it from there. So I can't wait to see what you guys got. Alright, appreciate you watching. Bye.